feel like the Sombra reworks will only slightly affect the meta, and by that I mean it's only gonna have a slight uptick in the amount of dive comps that we see. Other than that, it kind of comes down to what other nerfs and buffs come to everyone else at the start of Season 7.
I think that the meta could definitely be affected by this because the quick initiation and escapability with the translocator rework actually was pretty massive. And this virus right now, the hack targets, if they get the virus on them, that's 100 damage over 2 seconds. That can take a squishy down very quickly. It's going to pull a lot of resources out. So I think that meta-wise, as people get used to her new style of play and really becoming that frontline aggressor rather than the assassinator in the back line, I think this really affect the meta in a positive way.
I think that this will provide a huge tonal shift in terms of the meta. The meta right now seems to be a bit of a poke meta, where both sides just kind of be on their own side and just try to gain as much ultimate charge as they can. I think Sombra, with this rework, will change that. Sombra can now get into many engagements and catch the enemy off guard. I don't know if Sombra would be a must pick, but I do think that we'll see a higher pick rate than what we see right now with Sombra
in Season 7, and I gotta say, it is highly likely for this to happen, not only in just this dive form that we're used to seeing her in with like maybe a Winston or a Wrecking Ball or Doomfist. Now, I genuinely think she has some viability when it comes to these more frontline heavy comps with Reinhardt's, Orissa's, Baptiste, because she's so much more reliant on her team. Sombra's uptime, her translocator nerf, has caused her ability to stay within a fight longer. That has gone up. She relies on her team to stay alive. Right now, she doesn't have the same individual playstyle. You need to work with your team to actually gain more value out of the hero, and it really made me think that these changes are going to be beneficial, and we're going to start to see them in a lot of team compositions.
Current meta, at least that we saw in the competitive scene, a lot in the Calling All Heroes tournament this last weekend, is that the Sigma Rush comp kind of reigns supreme. And this Sombra really, really excels at playing a bit more with her team than old Sombra did. I think that you could probably slot into that composition pretty easily. So instead of maybe your rotating second TPS slot that wasn't the Bastion, that was like Sojourn or a Genji or something else, you might see a bit more Sombra. I think Sombra's going to slot into this new meta just fine.
Sombra's rework in Overwatch 2 has come to the surprise of many. The virus being added as a skill shot, everybody seems to love thus far, unless of course you're playing against Sombra, in which you're still taking about 110 damage, unless you're hacked, in which it may very well end up being a little bit more. In the end, it is still a good change. The fact you cannot translocate out of fights and just have a free, well, get out of jail free card on your back pocket is a nice addition. Obviously, some changes to her pistol is pretty good as well. The other conversation is the passive stealth ability. It does not regenerate when you are on or around an objective, no matter what objective that is, whether it's a payload, whether it's a control point, a flash point, or even TS1 in push. The other conversation is moving in with how her hack has been changed. Naturally, things are a little bit different. Her hack now has a shorter cooldown. I like the difference it makes, but I honestly just like the fact that Sombra can no longer just get out as soon as she goes on low HP.
The Sombra reworks are interesting, to say the very least, but overall, I believe that they're pretty good for the state that the hero is currently in, changing her from her past self. Sombra gets to keep this assassin-like playstyle where you can still roam in the backline, you can scout, gain information, have a quick escape, and, of course, set your team up for being more of an initiator in these fights. So the addition of the virus to the mix, just an extra bit of damage that you can add on, making these combos a lot easier to pull off.
I think the Sombra rework is decent. I really like the new virus ability, 100 damage over 4 seconds or 2 seconds if they're hacked. Translocator might be my favorite change, making it a short movement ability rather than a get out of jail free card. I feel like really does work. They want this Sombra to be a little bit more aggressive, and I like that. The only thing I don't like is the passive, or the old ability Stealth coming back as a passive. 3.5 seconds and then you go invisible. I don't like it. Still wish it was an ability. One though that was only timed once you use it. You have for about 10 seconds. It goes on to about 12-second cooldown. That's the only thing I don't like. Other than that, I feel like everything that we've kind of seen so far about this rework is just decent for Sombra.
Okay, yeah. I think this is a very good change to Sombra. I think Sombra will be picked a lot more. I think Sombra will be played a lot more. I think we'll see a lot more Sombra. I don't know. Again, I don't know if she'll be introduced into the meta. I think that she won't be broken. I think she'll be very strong. Looking at it from my point of view, from what I'm seeing from the video and from other sources, I think Sombra's going to be a very, very good agent in the next season.
But in reality, I think that this was a decent change, but I think she's a bit overtuned. The problem with her being a bit overtuned is that right now, she's at her weakest point. As we get later and later into the season, and people discover more techs, and people learn how to play this new Sombra, it's gonna be rough. I'm so sorry for the tank players. They don't get to have any fun this season. No one gets to have any fun. Sombra gets to have fun.
So, based upon what the details said, I was very skeptical about how she was going to play and how she was going to interact with other gamers. But I tell you what, after seeing her in action last night, yeah, Sombra is definitely back in a very big way. And I hope, I get to see a lot more of it, because EMP combos are still absolutely dirty. Saw an EMP Death Blossom combo that just completely eviscerated a team. So yeah, Sombra's rework, absolutely huge.